people. That way. What the fuck is that noise? Hello there. So I'm going to have a wee run through this. I seen it yesterday and Jean sent me it suggesting maybe a review, but I actually thought about that when I seen it yesterday. Just for anybody that's still kind of new, it might be useful just to point out the kind of switch that goes on in regards to this discussion. Sorry. This one. Because it happens quite a lot. You know, I've seen it over the last 5 years with this. What starts to happen is you get the globe proponents start using a kind of switcheroo and start acting like they're on the pedestal, and that somehow people like myself have got something to answer to, and also trying to take the high ground in regards to what they profess as being science and what the globe actually is, and it's millions of proofsies and all this rubbish, when really in reality it has nothing. And I'll go through some of this again as these two chaps speak to each other. Now, I'm not here to hammer on these two people in general. It's basically about the content. It's what's being offered between them and the discussion. And for me, it's hugely important because this is where the difference is made when we're discussing this topic with people, and how you bring them to a point of honesty. Because, as I say, it's disguised in language, and it's very subtle quite a lot of the time, and you really need to learn the pivot points. You need to be able to pick up on it when it happens and be able to articulate it. So again, the same as what I'm going to say when I get to the topic of discussing how to deal with the police. There's a master-servant type role that happens here. And what you need to remember is that you need to remain in the master role, and you are the questioner. Now, if you are somebody who opts for particular flat earth models, and you make claims about a certain model, then you put yourself on the same grounds as the globular earth people. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a tit for tat on a type of debate platform. Okay? And what you need to remember is that reality is singular. It's not an idea, it's not a concept. No, from our point of view, it is our experience, it's what we live every single day, and it is singular. It does not change according to anybody's wishes, desires, beliefs, any of that stuff. It's not there to be won or lost by rhetorical devices, but that is what you see continually happening. What happens, and you see it in the arena of YouTube, you've got globe earthers and flat earthers, and they're all trying to get one-upmanship. What they're basically doing is segregating and dividing the populace and maintaining that divide by continually trying to score points. It's like any other sport. Oh, well, they scored a point this week, and oh, but they scored a point that week, so it's a never ending, and it's not like it comes to a conclusion. You will never get, closure, full resolve, because what you're dealing with is two people who have their life and their mind and ideas, belief systems, and that will never change. As soon as you see somebody entering into debate forum type settings, you've lost the plot. Anybody who's smart enough and intelligent enough to be investigating this topic should realise first and foremost that it's singular. You should not be swayed by rhetorical devices, clever words, sophistry. It's not about that. You can be clever in regards to your line of questioning and how you bring people to understanding a point. Okay? But you don't convince anybody. You're not setting out to, convince people or convert them or any of that stuff. For me, it's always been about exposing the dishonesty, the lack of reasoning, the lack of logic being applied, and the inconsistencies and contradictions in what it is people actually believe to be true. So, if you can achieve that, then you might get somewhere, but also you have to establish grounds of what you're talking about. So as I say, that's why I always say to people, well, before we even enter this discussion, we need to have an agreement on certain things. You and I as human beings we can share ideas and concepts, words, continually until we're blue in the face. And you may understand concepts and the spoken language or think that you're interpreting it properly or comprehending it correctly. But when it comes to, something being objective, it has to be on the grounds of practicality. That way there's no ambiguity, there's no misunderstanding or lack of comprehension. Practical demonstrations are irrefutable. They are what they are. Okay? So, hello people, how are we? A special jumper. So I'll come to the how to deal with the police. I've seen it in a comment, somebody was asking me about that, so I thought I would have a wee talk about that. We'll just have a review of this. I'm guessing that I'll probably get copyrighted on this LADBible thing, but hey ho, if you're here live and you get something useful out of it, then that's fine. I'm not really bothered whether or not they pull the plug on it. So let's get into it. So as I said, you have to establish that first and foremost. What is you and I talking about? Objective reality. Okay, well, we need a pivot point. We need something for both of us to agree upon, so that when we're having that discussion, we can always refer to this point here, which is practicality. So what's that claim you're making? Okay, let's look at it in this arena of practical, right? So that I can understand your language and it's backed by a demonstration of physical, substance, whatever it may be. So I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who any of these guys are. 105,000 views. Well, I'll be checking the comment section. I'm pretty sure it'll be, I see the plain truths there. I'm pretty sure that the majority of it here will be Globe Zealots. Anyhow, let's go.
Right, on a ball, it has a beginning and an end point. That's it. Say that's not the end of it. Say there were land masses found beyond what we're told is the end pole of the Earth.
That sounds familiar. I wonder if he said that before.
How's it going, Matt?
Very good. Yeah, I'm Matt.
Yeah, I'm Connor. Nice to meet you, Matt.
Nice to meet you too. Cheers.
So let's see here. That's just a wee. This is the disingenuous, slanted journalism, or how they present things that are always slanted, and it's very subtle. So, and again, we're doing it with alcohol here, which I highly, would not recommend that you enter into any of these kind of discussions under the influence of alcohol, because emotions and things, your clarity just won't be there. But right away, you can see Matthew, scientist, and Connor has a different label. When in reality, these two people here occupy the very same singular objective reality. Now, you don't have to be an expert to live your life and experience the world as you experience it. So when we're talking about objectivity, both are scientists because it simply means to explore, to find out, investigate. But this is done deliberately because right away in people's minds, people are swayed by scientism, this, high ground that they've elevated supposed science, which is actually pseudoscience, the majority of it, when you get right down to it. It's based purely in the realms of mathematics. It's language based, the majority of the science that we see and are offered through the mainstream. So right away, you know deliberately that you're influencing, swaying people to favour this guy, and this guy right away is on the downward slope because he's just calling a flat earther. Now we all understand that flat earth is a loaded term and it's been propagated as such through mainstream media deliberately. Propaganda has been in full swing over, I'll say at least 100 years in regards to this topic. So we're seeing some deception, some influence right away. And these are the things that are subtle, quite subliminal, that people don't really pick up on or have their focus on. But it plays a role in how they perceive and hear what's being offered.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, man.
And that's the problem for me as well. If this guy, whatever his name is, was a real true scientist the way I understand it to be, he wouldn't agree to that either. Because he would be encouraging that everybody has the capabilities. Now we're not talking about expertise in a particular field where somebody has, more of an understanding and a grasp within a particular line of expertise, but that does not negate everybody else's capabilities to understand, comprehend these, especially if they're in the realms of the natural sciences based in practicality. So nobody has superiority over another. They may just have a better grasp, a better understanding of whatever particular line of expertise they're in. But as I say, in regards to this, we are experts because it's about your daily lived life, the actual world that you're living in. But if we go into the realms of a particular avenue of expertise, then fine. But again, you do not have any other more superiority over anybody else. That would just make you an intellectual snob. And not a really rational, sane, balanced person. So I understand cars, I'm a practical guy. If there's something practical that can be demonstrated to me, I will be able to understand it and recreate it myself. So can you.
A man actually went travel to try and find the actual
Sorry, I missed that.
a man.
The moon landing was faked. So here we have like a red herring. The moon landing is irrelevant when we're talking about understanding our objective reality that we share. The moon landing happened for the majority of people on a radio or a TV screen. The moon landing, regardless of what went on with it, is not measurable proof or practical references for the claims that are being made about the physical aspects, the substances within our shared reality. But this sets us off on the foot. Conspiracy theorists.
A man actually went travel to try and find the actual telemetry data of the moon landing happening, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, 700 boxes of magnetic tapes telemetry data is gone. They have no idea where it is.
Actually, it's very, very hard to keep magnetic tape. You're not trying to seriously say Led Zeppelin didn't record Led Zepp 1 because that tape no longer exists anymore.
We're literally talking about supposedly one of the greatest ever feats of mankind.
Well, the Led Zeppelin album, I agree. It is so good.
Yes.
So Connor was quite right to pick up on that here, because he's just jumped to some other trivial bullshit about Led Zeppelin and what happened with their, master copy or whatever. And as he points out, we're not talking about that here. We're talking about the professed greatest achievement of man.
But literally the greatest feats of mankind, men first walking on the moon. Those tapes, it's not that they're saying these tapes rotted away. These tapes were damaged. We couldn't, they don't know where they are.
Yeah, well,
it's as if they never exist. 700 boxes of tapes. I mean, you could call it an anomaly if you want to.
But it's not evidence. If someone comes in and says, I've seen a fairy in my garden.
It's no evidence. I mean, this guy here, as I say, I don't want to bash on him too much, but I'm probably going to, because I can't stand when I see blatant fucking dishonesty. Now, what he's just pointed out to him should raise anybody, especially if you're professing you're a scientist. The scepticism should be there in abundance. Well, of course, that's highly, highly suspicious. But, nah, what we're getting now, let's hear these waffle.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have to look under every single blade of grass to say that there wasn't a fairy in the garden,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
Because your claim is so outlandish.
What I would argue is that what is outlandish is saying that in the 1960s, you put men in...
See, again, he should be hammering him and taking the mastership role. You know, outlandish. Well, hang on a now, Mr. Scientist. You're outlandish because you're quite willing to believe something that you had no direct experience of, although you profess you're a scientist. Don't know how that works. Never had any direct experience of it, but you're quite willing and happy to believe it because you seen it on your TV. Because that's the only place that you would find any semblance of a reason to have that belief.
Into a metal rocket and you shot them through a near perfect vacuum 250,000 miles away. They landed safely on a rock 250,000 miles away and then came back. And then we just didn't go back. That claim is outlandish.
That was actually predicted. So if you go back to there was some papers by Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction writer. This is his defence here again. This guy's not a scientist. And again, it just highlights the types of people that are professing they are the authorities of science. They are the scientists, right? What he's just said about, you know, his reasons for how he views what happened in the 1960s and how absurd it seems to him. He's then gone and saying, well, that was predicted. What was predicted that they were going to go to the moon by a fucking science fiction writer? I mean, what kind of response is that? This is why the scientific community is in such a shambles, because you've got morons like him, seriously inept, seriously intellectually dishonest and bankrupt.
He predicted that mankind would try it and that we would go there a couple of times. We would not do it very often because it was just economically unviable.
So that's his defence. A science fiction writer wrote something. And that's it. I mean, it's astounding, people. Really, it is absolutely mind-blowing that guy gets the title of scientist. Fuck me. It's not even logical, never mind scientific.
Yeah, you would say there were anomalies, right? You would say it's a basis of anomalies, but I would say that basically everything that the majority of what...
So again, I'm just going to keep interrupting you because so far, you know, this is all about externalising your authority and handing it to other people and discussing other institutions and other people, no their direct experiences. This is, you know, we're not seeing two people here with honesty, sharing direct experience and what they have to share with each other. Right? We're not getting that.
What NASA produce is fiction.
I find it very difficult to understand what the motivation for NASA just to be a sort of enormous lying machine.
When you put the Earth in a globe, right?
Hold on a minute, because that's just incredulity. You know, just because you don't know why they would does not negate. Right? Again, I'm going to highlight this total stupidity of this with a simple analogy. We walk into a murder scene and you've got somebody trying to investigate it and you've got a guy like him saying, oh, I don't think a murder happened because I see no reason for why a murder would have happened. I don't understand why a murder would have happened. Therefore, it never happened. Never mind all that blood and the dead body and the knife in its heart. I don't know why it would have happened, therefore it didn't happen. Wow.
A ball, it has a beginning and an end point. That's it. Once you go past a certain point, you just end up on the other side, right? But say that's not the end of it.
How about just, Connor, how about just saying to people, look, it doesn't matter about their motivations. Let's not even bother going in that avenue. Let's just keep on the real grounds here and have a proper investigation. Where's the demonstrations? Where's the measurable proofs of claims that are being made?
Say there were land masses found beyond what we're told is the end pole of the Earth. You don't want to keep those public knowledge because there's resources here that can be taken advantage of by people in high positions of power. What do you do?
But who are these people in these high positions of power? Because we've had generations since then. And what are the Russians and the Chinese?
Generations are what? The same families with the wealth and the power. Are you that stupid that you don't understand that because you've never properly investigated it? Because you're too full of hubris and think that you're a fucking intellectual and jump about with other intellectual snobs who reaffirm your delusional position. Is that right, Mr. Scientist?
And the North Koreans and the South Koreans and the Australians.
I would say,
what are they doing? What are they doing?
I would say when it gets to a certain point, they're all involved. China's all these space agencies, every single one of these.
No, they're all involved because there's a thing called the Antarctic Treaty. There's treaties for certain areas that they've got agreements upon. So you should have highlighted that to him.
Space agencies are doing the same thing. In fact, if you look at China's work, it is some of the worst faking of space that's ever happened. You look at what they're producing and saying is real space travel, and it's people in pools. They're not in space. You can see bubbles coming out of their helmets. It's a joke. Flat is probably the most probable. We cannot.
You know, the words here, flat, you know, explain to him about level, the geometry, and what we apply in the practical aspects of our daily lives. Have a discussion with him about that.
Cannot prove motion. Without motion, none of it works. And second, obviously, being the major one, is that...
That's right, Connor. Without motion, none of it works. So something's moving. It's just that it's no spinning. Something's moving. We're either moving upwards relative to us being within the reference frame, or there's some sort of flow of whatever, electromagnetism or whatever anybody wants to claim, that comes from the top down.
We can't detect curvature. The globe model's a little bit problematic.
There's plenty of experiments that show the curvature of the Earth.
Here's a bold claim. Experiments. What does he mean by experiments?
To live by the coast, I've got a really expansive view out onto the Atlantic, and I can see the ships and I can see them dip down over the horizon. So
this is the empty, vacuous bullshit. Again, this is a scientist, right? And his experiments, which is not even an experiment, by the way. It's just somebody looking with a serious lack of understanding that his visual geometry is totally different to what the world actually is. But he doesn't have that capability because he's never investigated it properly. He's been wheeled out here, right? Because he probably thinks he's somebody and volunteered for it or whatever, right? That's not an experiment. That's somebody looking and saying, I see stuff that I don't understand, and therefore I've had an explanation that fits my wee religious bias, and that's good enough for me, and I'm a scientist. I'm afraid that you, whatever your name is, you're just an absolute moron.
Physically seeing the curvature for myself.
Right.
You could also get into a high altitude jet.
He's physically seen the curvature for himself because he thinks he's seen a ship going over rotund convex water. He actually thinks that he was standing on the beach and that the ocean was sloping downwards away from him and the water wasn't flowing. Well, it was maintaining a convexity upon its surface, and he thinks a wee boat went down the hill that doesn't flow. Yet when we go to the shorelines and we pinpoint two land masses with a great distance between them, you know, here in particular, I can pinpoint something with 30 miles between two land masses. I can put a straight edge up to those land masses, and from the central point of my straight edge, there is no deviation left to right from the central point of the Earth's surface, which it must do, because between the two land masses there is an elevation drop from any given starting point to the end point of 350 feet. That would be detectable by vision, by using an apparatus put up to the horizon, and you would see the deviation left and right of the central point, but there's none. But Smarty Pants scientist here sees something, and that's an experiment.
Yeah, and actually physically see the curvature of the Earth. Pilots see it all the time.
A lot of physicists will completely
And
disagree.
again, displaying his illogic, no science, pilots say so. Really? So the scientists now handed his authority over to pilots, who they're now the scientists, and they say they see something. Therefore, what we're getting here is hearsay, Chinese whispers, storytelling being passed from one dipshit to another dipshit, concocting stories and adding their own drivel on top of it, and trying to pass that off as science.
Disagree with you. Do you remember when Felix Baumgartner did the jump,
Yeah.
the Red Bull jump, right? He'll be the first to tell you that they were using a fisheye lens in the camera, because from his out.
But again, this is the problem when we have people who jump in to, you know, put themselves out in mainstream TV and they're not equipped. Because again, if Connor really dug in and really wanted to learn, he would be able to articulate to this guy, you know, why we're talking purely about visible phenomena when that's not been quantified. It's not a direct measurement of curvature. What you're seeing with your eyes does not define the Earth's dimensions, because it's in the realms of vision. It's the geometry of vision. So how the world actually is and how it appears to you through your vision are two separate entities altogether.
Altitude, it would have been impossible to see curvature. And I agree with you, if you're in a jet or a bomber, you may see a curve to the Earth when you're high. However, that's because you're in glass shaped like this. Plenty of pilots who fly passenger jets will tell you that.
And again, what this guy doesn't realise is he's opened it up. He talks about fairies. Well, you know, somebody saying they seen a fairy has just as much credibility as you saying I seen a curve. Because it's just statements being made, words. But he thinks because he's got the weight of an echo chamber behind him that he somehow has superiority over the person that states that they've seen fairies or the Loch Ness Monster. So which is it, Mr. Scientist? Huh? Fairies don't exist, you think that's outlandish? Well, if somebody says to you they've seen it, that's no different from you saying you seen the curve. So therefore, by your logic and your apparent scientific credibility, that must be proof that fairies and the Loch Ness Monster are true, because somebody professes they've seen it.
It's flat the whole way around.
This is hard-won scientific knowledge that you just can't just put in the bin because you've read a couple of websites. Or
Again, the intellectual pomposity, snobbery, hard scientific facts. You've offered fuck all, son. There is no hard scientific facts that support a globular Earth. Mathematical sophistry, abstract conceptual horse shit is what the globular Earth is, I'm afraid, sir.
you've seen a couple of
It's
experiments.
certainly.
And belittling him, which is a subtle sneaky ad hominem type attack where he's undermining him because he knows how that will come across to the pompous, biased audience who just want their bias to be scratched. Undermining him by stating that his reasoning processes are based purely on what he's seen on YouTube videos. But hang on now, sunshine. You believe moon landings, globular earth because what? You seen it in the TV? Or you looked out your window and seen it? So what we're seeing here again is what I was talking about the switcheroo. It's actually him here to the left of the screen who's the moron, who takes things on hearsay, who doesn't reason with his own beliefs and his own thought processes. It's this dipshit that's the cretin.
And you've read things that aren't necessarily by the consensus of scientists.
So here again, that aren't by the consensus of science. So consensus now. Now we're into other illogical pish. Still no scientific, we're just getting this idiot's illogic continuously here. The consensus of science. Consensus means diddly squat, son. Consensus is no practical demonstrations of affirmed claims. Consensus is no measurement of professed claims.
Scientific skepticism has to take an evidence-based approach.
That's right, evidence-based approach. We're not talking about a court case here. We're not talking about you cherry-picking stuff to compile a wee story that you can try and pass off as somehow feasible or real. Where is a cold, hard, practical reference? Where are they?
I think this is where you could bring in something like Occam's razor, is say, what of these two different things requires us to have the least amount of assumptions?
Before Connor jumps in, I'm pretty sure he highlights it here, but let's just have a look at that. As I said before, mastership role, servant, right? The least amount of assumptions for anybody, every single person that is born, is that they exist on a level plane, where standing bodies of water find level, the surface level, no deviation in elevation from any starting point to any other given point upon the surface of that body of water, are at equal elevation. These require the least amount of assumptions. They're just barefaced, cold facts, demonstrable. The globular earth, with its idiotic, magical fucking forces and spinny movements in all different directions and absurdities, requires a huge leap of faith and a divorce from your direct experience and your common sensibilities. But again, he's never thought about any of this because he's a pompous, illogical, deceptive, lying, low-life piece of shit. I'm always willing to give other people a chance to improve and move on and correct it. But I highly doubt that fucktard here will. But as of now, you are indeed a fucktard. I am going to call a spade a fucking spade.
Stationary and flat versus globular and moving, right? I'm looking around.
I really wish people would stop asserting stationary. None of that's been established yet. Just because you've heard it repeated to you over and over again doesn't make it true.
I feel like I'm standing still. I don't feel like anything is moving. So the least amount of assumptions in based on Occam's razor is that I am still.
And here again, we see the lack of honesty in the journalism, the representation here. Because what he's just pointed out is true. He fucking knows it. But we don't get an acknowledgement of it because they cannot concede. Because if they concede, that's going to place doubt on the onlooker's mind, who are only here to have their bias scratched and reaffirmed by this cretin that they place their faith in. He fucking knows that. So he will not concede any point whatsoever. Now we're into the gravity is only a theory. Right away, you can end this whole debacle with gravity, because what they talk about with gravity is just simply observed phenomena, that being the way in which objects fall. Okay? The way in which objects fall do not define nor give measurability of the dimensions of the earth we stand upon. It's a separate question. Fuck all to do with the shape of the earth. Nothing. So right there and then, highlight it, articulate it to them. If they want to insist, ask them to define it. Ask them to explain to you how the way in which objects fall defines the shape of the earth. Because I'll tell you, it fucking well does not. It's stupid.
Newton's laws, they've been unbelievably successful in describing the world and predicting things and bringing...
Newton's laws. See how they do that? They attribute things to a man. Reality and the way reality functions, I've got fuck all to do with man's interpretations. Okay, sunshine.
us new technology.
So no Newton's laws. The way reality functions is fuck all to do with man trying to define it.
It's not that they're wrong, they're just not fully described yet. Think of knowledge as being this big...
It's not that they're wrong, they're just not fully described yet. Here again, this cretin doesn't have the depth to understand that we are within the effects, we are a part of the reality. To get to the ultimate cause of reality is an absurd endeavour. Right? People with a massive complex, superiority complex, that think that they've got the capacity to get to that destination, which is idiotic. You are within the effects, sunshine. So your explanations, and he's telling you here, explanations do not define what it actually is. It's just wee fucking stories based on interpretations.
Building up of a pyramid of knowledge. You never achieve the truth. You're just adding layer upon layer as you get nearer and nearer and nearer and nearer the truth.
Right, well, Newton was categorically wrong. I admire your optimism,
Yeah.
however, I don't feel like those gaps will ever be
What
filled.
you could do is you could pull up and ask him to define his gravity. How does he define it? Then ask him how it interacts with objects. How does it make objects move? And he's probably going to say pulling. Therefore, you can then refer to real practical physics and show him that pull is only a descriptor of direction. Motion requires pressure variance. That is force. Force is how much pressure is applied to any object to make it move. One thing must press upon another thing. If we're talking about gas, like something like a vacuum cleaner, your vacuum cleaner creates a lower pressure within a certain area. The higher pressure surrounding it rushes inwards, pushing against particulates, small objects, and pushing them into the chamber.
I don't think the pyramid to the truth will ever be finished.
You don't trust the bottom layers, and therefore...
He's trying to undermine him. He's not defined anything. You don't trust the bottom layers. Your bottom layers so far, sunshine, is I looked out my window and I seen a ship going over a rotund convex body of water, a slope going downwards from my feet that wasn't flowing. What a complete and utter stupid cunt. You have got nothing to support that idiotic notion. A total absurd lunacy. You are a fucking crackpot, son.
Anything that you see, you're almost having to start from scratch.
No.
Which is the way everybody should. Not just take things in hearsay. He's trying to encourage cult mentality because he needs you to be a cult lunatic. Everybody should be starting from scratch. Everybody should be eradicating the preconceived assumptions that they have in their mind about what it is they think is true and what they think they know. Because that doesn't make you a true investigator, a true skeptic. That makes you a cult disciple. Which is what he is.
It's essentially why you almost have a BC style knowledge of things like flat Earth, because you're going right back to the beginning and ignore. Well, it is archaic.
No, it's not. It's certainly not archaic, because up until NASA was founded and we were shown so-called proof, this argument has never died. The flat Earth has been a contender in this argument between globe and Earth for a long time.
It's been fringe for 2,500 years.
No.
Look, he's just dishonest again. It's been French for 2,500 years. How old are you, sack sniffer? How old are you, son? That's right. Probably about 55. Looking at you. You're no 2,500 years old. You've never had a rational thought in your fucking life, son. Right? So stop rattling on about what you think or you think you know about 2,500 years of fucking history. Because, again, showing me your illogical, irrational, unstable, derpy fucking mind. I heard a story. Somebody wrote it down and I read it, and it came from peers who I respect, a consensus of peers who are all honest. It's all honest and very true representations of what actually happened thousands of years ago, and I believes it complicitly. And now I'm going to sit here with some sort of superior authority and look down upon thee. What a fucking cretin. These cunts need to be removed and fucking shamed. They're criminals. They should not be allowed to have scientists anywhere near their fucking name whatsoever. These cretins do proper investigation, exploration a disservice. These are the cunts that hold us back. Creepy wee insecure dick sniffers like him that are out to stamp their authority and their stature over the world. Delusional, weak-minded, spineless cunt.
Oh, it has not. That's absolutely not true.
We're both probably skeptics, but
you're not a skeptic, fanny balls. You're not a skeptic. None. Not 1 ounce of skepticism have I seen here whatsoever. All I see is a smarmy, pompous cunt that thinks he knows it all, and he's here to belittle the little fucking YouTube dweller. I dare ye to come and speak to me. I'm not speaking to you. You swear a lot, and you're quite aggressive in your tones. It's emotive expression here on my platform. I will treat you with manners and respect if I get the same in return. Come and have a discussion. I would like to intellectually spank the fucking living life right out you.
Form of skepticism is a scientific skepticism.
I would actually disagree.
His form of skepticism is scientific skepticism. I seen curvy water and boats going over curvy water. I looked out my window. Therefore, scientifico.
Say that my form of skepticism is a scientific skepticism because it follows the scientific method, natural science. One of my favorite physicists ever was Richard Feynman, and he just...
Scientific method, natural science. Again, that should have been established. What we're talking about here, the subdivisions of science. Let's lay it out and have an understanding and agreement upon what it is we're discussing. Scientific method tries to establish cause and effect. What you can have is scientific demonstration of the function and behaviour of something without trying to establish cause and effect. You can play with effects and demonstrate what happens between various effects. Like, oh, look at that, there's a phenomenon out there. Oh, I see water running down that slope. Now it's gathering into a pool and it's collecting and it's forming a free surface of a horizontal plane. And that's what I'm witnessing. So do you know what? I'm going to take that and I'm going to make some guesses. I'm going to make some predictions that I can utilise that. And what I'll do is I'll get some various containers of different shapes. I'll make measurements and lines upon them, and I predict that when I fill these various containers that the water surface is going to align to my prescribed markers. And lo and behold, that's what you'll fucking find. There's a scientific demonstration based on the observation of a natural phenomena. A practical reference that you can share between people and say, look, that's how that substance behaves. There's no denying it. So what's going on with these cunts showing us rotund convex bodies of water? Something's wrong here. Do we believe what we see on the TV and ignore what we can practically demonstrate? Or do we believe and accept what we can practically demonstrate, therefore rising our suspicions about what we're seeing on the TV as being blatantly false?
Described science in a fantastic way. He said the steps of science is that we observe, then we guess. That's it. It's a guess. We use nature and experimentation to either verify or nullify that guess. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. That's it. That's what Richard Feynman said, and I totally agree with it.
If Richard Feynman's your hero, he's absolutely my hero.
Oh, right,
I've just
so we agree.
He's tapping his heart because he wants to take ownership of his sycophantic fucking worship of some guy he's never met or doesn't even fucking know, handing authority over, undermining everybody by, idolising and perpetuating that sick, weak mindset of idol worship, which makes people passive, apathetic and fucking lazy, that they never investigate anything off their own back because you've got cocksniffers like him constantly perpetuating weak-mindedness. Fucking grates on me.
I'm
Quite sure you can tell with the tone.
I've just finished Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman.
Okay, yeah.
He understands
I've just finished Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. Snooty wee cockrash. Don't impress me, son.
that science...
I certainly wouldn't be there giggling like a wee lassie at your fucking stupidity. I'd have you shitting your pants and fucking crying, wanting to run away because I'm not letting you escape from your barefaced fucking dishonesty, which is what needs to happen. I'm sick of us pandering to these cocks. I'm not giving, Connor, I don't want to give you a hard time, but do not pander to these fucking bum sniffers. Make them crumble. Make them run away. That's what they deserve. They need to face up to the bullshit that they're perpetuating because they're too fucking weak-minded to deal with it. And that hinders my chances of finding out actually what this place is in its entirety because of weak cunts like him.
Is this building up slowly of knowledge? To be honest, he would be horrified at your take on science.
Oh, no, he's talking for somebody he's never met and that's deed. Got a time travelling fucking sackrash here. Knows what happened 2,500 years ago. Knows what Richard Feynman would think.
Particularly how you just put it there, because it's not quite right. He is a fantastic...
What's not quite right? Articulate it with specifics. He's just hand-waved dismissed without any specifics. Again, illogical liar.
Advocate of science, and he would of course be horrified by flat Earth.
He would of course be horrified, seeing it with authority again, trying to sway the onlooker with this consensus crap again, and appeals to idols. This is a cult member, make no bones about it, and what his job is here is to try and maintain the membership of the cult. Don't let any escape.
Genuinely would.
Anytime I talk about something controversial, they will make sure that they've put an article under my video to...
Nobody should be fucking censoring anything. Unless it's a crime. I.e. robbery, assault, of some kind. Something that's a true crime. Censorship should not be happening in any way, shape or form. Ever. Because if you allow it, and you're passive to it, you're entering into treacherous, dark fucking waters. As we can see, evident right now with the situation that's going on.
say what the opposite of what I'm saying is true. Why would you need to censor this kind of information if it's so clearly wrong?
Let's face it, if we were talking about a much more offensive idea, if we look at an example, would you be happy?
An offensive idea. Again, censoring freedom of thought, freedom of speech. What a complete and utter cretin he is, by the way. People like that are for the fucking watching. They're so weak that they'll destroy everybody else trying to control them because they're terrified and insecure of everything. So they want to censor ideas. What about the idea of handing your authority to politicians, idols, you know, the stuff that's massively prominent within our societies? What about that? Well, you don't see any problem with that, do you? No, because it fucking suits you, cockrash.
Happy with YouTube downplaying Nazi videos?
It's a different. I think we're talking about something completely different. When we're talking about, someone promoting Nazism, someone promoting hate towards a group of people. Whereas when we're discussing things like flat Earth, we're discussing ideas.
Do you know what? And I do agree with you. I am going to shift it a little bit over here because the freedom of speech, I think, is really important.
Aye. You want to tell that to some of the cretins that I've encountered over the last 5 years, son, who represent your idiotic, derpy cult?
Sorry.
That's it.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I would say this because I would actually say that everybody is brainwashed to a degree. I would say that I am brainwashed to a degree. Most of the time we exist in some form of an echo chamber, whether we want to or not.
That's right, the majority it's an echo chamber, probably 99.9% yet, because we don't know where we are, we don't know why we're here, how it came to be. So what's this thing we call civilization, societies, cult, yours, cultures? That's right. Ideas passed on from one generation to the next. Substitutes. Distractions.
What you're trying to do is be very, very open-minded, but not so open-minded that your brains fall out. I mean,
You're not open-minded at all, son. And again, a subtle undermining. No so open-minded that your brains fall out, which is his hand-wave dismissal again of this chap and anything that he's trying to discuss. Yeah, again, these people are just not the brightest. They think that they are, but they're just no. And again, that's something else I want to touch on here. When you're seeing, so cringy. Right now, you've got all these celebrities and all these mainstream people trying to come across as, edgy and real, like internet podcasts and stuff, and it's just so plastic, transparent, empty. There's no soul, there's no real quality of life experience, no honesty within them. They're just gimpy fucking retards trying to be real people.
I mean, that's kind of it. And as a scientist, you want people to come along and disprove your theories. I think
disprove your theories. Define scientist. Define what you mean. Because what he's talking about is interpretations. Majority of the time we're talking mathematical, conceptual stuff. It's not a theory of how water behaves. It's a direct experience that can be repeated over and over and over again. There's a huge difference.
Not even just challenge your theories, but to disprove them. I think that's the most exciting thing in science. You may belong to a tribe, but I don't think
it's not up to me to disprove or anybody. Right? The claim's being made that I live on an absurdity. Now, that burden lies solely at your feet. You want me to accept an absurd, idiotic claim? That's up to you. You're the one that's going to have to justify that to me.
Being brainwashed by that tribe, I just think that you've rejected what I would call normal science, and you're going for something else.
Normal science. I looked out my window and I seen something And now I'm certain that it's scientifical. Wow.
That's not actually science, but I don't.
Right, to you. Yeah, no, I agree. That's fine. That's fine.
Walter Feynman.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, why not? It's been a good conversation.
Why not? Why not? I'll tell you why not, Connor, because he's a lying, dishonest cretin. I'm not going to be, passive with these fucking people. Fuck them. Fuck them. First and foremost, I don't fucking drink. Cunt. Right? And I wouldn't go for a drink with you because I'm not interested in dishonest liars that are weak. You've got nothing to offer me. All you would do is try and drag me into your wee cesspit of weak-minded idiocy. So no fucking spank you. I want to be going for a drink with him. In fact, I forgot about that. Let's have a wee look at the fucking comments. This is simply the hardest try not to get mad challenge ever. The title is wrong. Flat Earth theory is not a theory, it's a hypothesis, and it's a wrong one, period. Very articulate, very fucking reasoned, with specifics there. So the guy who isn't a scientist thinks he is more of a scientist than the actual scientist, for fuck's sake. This is just a wee dweeb again who doesn't understand how to define terms and establish what an actual scientist is. A scientist of what? Exactly? Because it's a generalised statement used as an umbrella to get away with any old fucking pish. Oh, black holes and quasars on the fifth dimension with portholes to fucking Uranus and all that stuff. It's scientifical. Because thousands of idiots said so, therefore it's science. It's just all nonsense. No articulation, nothing that adds to it, nothing that resolves any of it. It's just imbecility, left, right and centre, and I guarantee you the majority of these that are commenting are bots. They're not even real people. I say, I make no apologies. I'll call a spade a fucking spade. If you want to display your dishonesty, I'm just going to point at it. Because I tell you what, the older I get, the less patience I have for it. And all this pish talking about it's archaic, it holds us back. What did the globular earth ever bring us? Fuck all! None! Zilch! A waste of fucking time and effort. Well, we've got people fucking living in squalor. Talking about fucking Mars and Uranus and fantasy realms doesn't fucking help us in any way, shape or form. Holds us back. Keeps us idle and still. Taking things on hearsay. Making people dumber. Because the great ones, the high priests of the fucking cult establishment have figured it all out. So I've got absolutely no fucking time for them, zero respect for them. I'll check that in a wee second. Des, let me just see here. David Mitchell, Graham Norton. I'll see if anything comes up. I'll check it in a wee second. And again, this has always been one of my issues here. When, I feel like people could get a better grasp on how to articulate, a better grasp on how to pull them up on their sophistry, to no be scared of confrontation, to put them in an uncomfortable position, because they need to be put in an uncomfortable position. They need to be. Elaborate a bit more. We're moving. Where do we get direction? Where does direction come from, and how do you get density layers? Just by saying objects are more dense than other objects doesn't give them direction. So you've got two options. The Earth's moving towards us, or there's some sort of flow of some energy or whatever that comes from the top downwards. That's your options. I can demonstrate the first one. I can't demonstrate the second one. So, right, what was I looking for here? Hang on a minute. Right, David Mitchell, Graham Norton, Flat Earth.
Your observer columns over kind of the last 5 years, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the columns kind of cover, things that are going on in the news and in our culture and in our society. And it's one of the things you pick up on is what's happened to facts. That facts aren't what they once were.
Yeah. Facts.
Facts.
I thought you were talking about the defunct way of sending messages.
No.
What's happened to that? Well, tell you what's happened to that, the internet. And it's the least of its victims.
How do we establish facts? Sack rash. We establish facts by way of practicality. That means demonstrations of practicality, real substance being demonstrated.
Yes, well, that's the thing. The internet has happened to both forms of fact, both faxes and facts. The internet has seemed to.
Why are people laughing? I've not heard anything funny yet. This is what I'm saying about these empty cretins. They're all being found out now. Right? Because without all the candid laughter and the prompts of laughter and all that, people should start realising that they're just not funny. They've not got anything real to say. Yeah? They're sitting there fulfilling the role of idols.
Yeah, because now, essentially, you can't tell truth from lies. They both look perfectly nicely typeset. They're both on websites.
How do you tell truth from lies? When we're talking about objectivity, we go into the realms of practicality. David, right? So therefore, you don't need to worry about it. What's that claim that's being made? Where's the practical reference for it? Oh, there it's there. Oh, cool. I'll recreate that now and see it for myself. All right, that's right. Okay, that statement is in fact true.
Loads of people are endlessly saying how mainstream media is all lies. It's not all lies, is it? I mean, in fact, there's a lot more recourse if there is a specific lie in mainstream media than there is on a random website that someone's just put up there. But people are going around saying, no, mainstream media is all lies. And that is bullshit. And the fact that people think that is extremely worrying. But it's one of the other terrible effects of the internet. The truth...
So how do you resolve it, David? How do you equip people so that they've got the ability to discern between fact and fiction? David? Huh? Are you just trying to sit there and be all edgy? Huh? Oh, you figured something out and you're smarting me now. What about resolving the issue, David? How about having a discussion about that? But you wouldn't like that, because if everybody was discerning, they would realise that you're just a wee twat, that you're no worth bothering with, because you've not really got fucking anything to offer. Peep Show was alright, gave me a couple of laughs, but I'm pretty sure that you weren't the sole proprietor of the comedic bits.
you know, it is out there, but it may never again be discerned.
But also, would you seem to be going backwards? Like you talk in the book about how we now have to listen to people saying the Earth is flat.
Yeah, yes, that's one of the pieces in there is about the new.
Oh, I sense uncomfortableness. I see deception in the eyes. Right? Making wide-eyed gestures, trying to make yourself feel secure, looking for approval from the audience. Right?
New Flat Earth International Conference. It isn't a conference from the 14th century. This is a conference that started, I think, in 2017.
Oh, subtle undermining there again. Aye, very good. You're brilliant.
And it is a growing thing, and that's because people are so contrarian, people are so willing to believe unsubstantiated things that have websites.
You need to be contrarian if you're a sceptic. That's what makes you healthy. That's what helps you not to fall into echo chambers and have biases, right? When you think to yourself, oh, hang on a now, and you're quite aware of yourself to say, oh, hang on a now, I'm swaying towards something here. I better have a wee look at it. Why am I tending to sway towards that? Why am I looking to reaffirm that to myself? Why do I want that to be true? You need to be a contrarian with yourself, first and foremost, to make sure that you don't fall into delusional land.
That they are now going back on the conclusion we have all rightly drawn about...
Oh, the conclusion we've all rightly drawn. How did you establish that it was rightly drawn? And who's all? See these people that do that, that's just illogic again. Generalising. He's speaking for everybody. He's only one man. He doesn't even understand himself, but he's quite willing to sit there and act like he's a god or something that can talk for every living sentient being that ever was and ever will be. What a prick.
At the shape of the planet we live on.
That just wasn't funny.
People are sort of going, and by people I mean idiots, are saying...
Oh, I told him, I just called them idiots. Look at that fucking cretin. That looks like Hillary Clinton, is it?
I'm a questioning person, so why am I going to go along with this idea that the world is round? Well, I'll tell you why. Because people went up in a rocket, looked out of the window, and took a bloody photo.
Well, people went to fucking Loch Ness, took photos, seen Nessie. Therefore, David Mitchell and the other scientists are now opening a can of fucking worms that anybody that sees anything has now got the scientific authority. And everybody must accept it. This is what's wrong with this device TV, because it allows this shite to continue and influence vulnerable people out there. Aye, well done, David. Aye, fucking brilliant. What a complete and utter roaster. Total and utter fucking numbskull. There's two reasons for them to fucking copyright this. You're probably better recording this as it's actually happening, or whatever, because I guarantee it'll get taken down. Was that the BBC? BBC don't like me. It's alright for Netflix and these people to just randomly throw my face into their idiotic videos, but I don't have any recourse. Or Channel 4, the BBC, any of these people. They're talking about recourse there. He's talking about recourse in the media. Where's my fucking recourse? Huh? Where's my cut of fucking Netflix shite? Fucking gimp. So that Channel 4 was it? Channel 4 don't like me, do they? They've put me on TV without my consent, Chris Bones and Neil. They put me in that idiotic pish on fucking Netflix called Beyond the Curve or something like that. Just a total dig, because I'm a threat to them. Exactly. Beyond belief. They didn't even have the decency to put the channel name in there so that people could come and actually hear what's being stated. They just put Dell. Could possibly be, boom me. Some sort of filtration system would make sense to me. What is it with the fucking jumper? Just fucking leave my jumper alone. Huh? Look at you passing judgment. I think I sport the fucking jumper very well. Thank you very much. I think it accentuates my arse chin. Brings out the colouring in my eyes. Highlights my fucking cheekbones and all that stuff. Huh? What's your problem? Try to bring me down? Huh? Try to make me feel bad about myself? Huh? Oh no, somebody's judged me and it's a bad judgment, therefore I'm going to try everything I can to make them likes me. Thank you, Carol. That is a very nice jumper. I agree. Level World, how are you doing? Stuart Lundy. Aye? Slagging me about my jumper and there's people with fucking sanitary fucking towels on their face running about the place because they think they're going to be invaded by the fucking COVID body snatcher. That David Giles, and they're not even funny at it. They're just pathetically fucking helpless and hopeless. Really are. So say they don't have any real grit. They don't have any real depth of soul. They've got fucking nothing. No passion. No nothing. As I said many years ago, come to me and I'll give you lessons. Right? They've probably already been taking tips. But even at that, they still don't have the fucking cojones to carry it through. Because they're too worried about fitting some mould of acceptability and being appealing to a wider audience and all that. So that limits them. Because they're sellouts. Sellouts to themselves. Selling out to their own ineptitude, their own weak-mindedness. So I go to do anything worthless. This is the other thing. I get these dipshits that continually come here, and this is the problem with Muddy in the Waters. They continually come here trying to ask me questions about some flat earth circle. Some fucking circle pizza dish thing. They come here asking me questions about it. You can ask me the questions when I start asserting that that's what the earth is. See, until then, fuck off. I'm the master. You're the fucking servant, the dipshit zealot. You want me to believe in absurdities. Therefore, the burden and the onus is on you. But they desperately, this is something I've seen from the very beginning. They desperately, when I ripped the piss out of the Bullingdon Badgers Club, right? When I ripped the piss out of them, tied them up in knots, had them in tears. Once the penny dropped that I wasn't representing any cartoons. My stance was continually questioning the claims that were being made. And this is why you see them coming to this comment section, constantly asking about 3,000 mile high suns and fucking circular pizza dishes. Because they desperately need to try and attach or associate people like myself with cartoonery, in order to try and elevate their own stupid concept and somehow give credence to it by undermining some other concept. Both just as cartoony and as stupid as each other. So, take note, although it's been stated many, many times, I do not represent cartoons. I do not waffle on about the sun, because my question is, what are the dimensions of the fucking earth? If you're asking me questions about the sun, what that tells me about you is that you have preconceived assumptions and notions about what you think these things are. You also have a faulty reasoning, an illogic, a brain fart, that you think that by your presuppositions and your idiot red herring focus, that the focus on this red herring stuff in the sky somehow defines the earth. When the question is simple, how can anything above you define what is beneath you? You will run, you will contort, you will dance, because you don't have a response. Same angry. Stop shouting and anger and blah blah. You got all these people that come into the comment section rattling on about how stupid you are and you're angry and you shout and you swear. Hang on a now, cretin. What you're just admitting to me is that you've just watched somebody who you don't like, you don't want to listen to, you think's a moron, but you've listened for 2 hours. And you keep coming back. Tanya, how you doing? That's it, Captain, but some people can't distinguish between that. Some people can't distinguish righteous indignation. Right? Some people just don't get that. And again, it's trying to undermine, you know, the spectrum of human emotion and human reaction, that anger somehow, you know, the devil, and you have to evade it and avoid it and put it in a box and lock it away somewhere. Go to any fucking psychologist, even your own life experience. If you suppress your own instincts, your own emotions, it's going to be to your detriment. You're going to chew yourself up and become an empty, wet paper towel. Hello, Mind of Manny. Mind of Manny. Right. What was your simple question, Mothos? What was your simple question? About a sun that you assume to know what it is and where it is, attached to some cartoon flat earth? I articulated it quite succinctly about how stupid you are and what your wee game is. If you do it again, I'm just going to remove you from the chat. You'll need to run away and make another sock account. I have, Caroline Devons. I've seen many anomalies in the sky. I've seen fucking, groups of them moving in sync with each other, stopping, and then going in different directions. I've seen that a couple of times. Captain dear, why are you expelling energy on an idiot? Oh, I'm sorry that I'm not doing things the way you want them to be done, Captain. I think it's very useful to highlight the sophistry and the illogic that they offer up continually. If you've got it all figured out and worked out and you just want to keep it all to yourself and sit on your wee smug tower of superiority, you crack on. Batter in. See you later. Right, so let's have a wee discussion now about dealing with police, shall we? Because I'm sure that, many people who want to go about their business, which you're quite entitled to do so, are going to encounter some of these people dressed in fancy dress costumes who try and assert some sort of superiority and authority over you. As I said at the beginning of this, what you always have to remember is that they're supposed to be public servants, which means they're there to serve under you. You are above them, they are beneath you. That is what they signed up for. That is the oath they took. Okay? Now they're very subtle and devious with how they approach things and how they utilise language. They're going to come at you with an air of superiority, because for the majority of the time, what they experience is that the majority of the populace are in servitude to them, terrified and scared of them, and don't understand how to deal with them. It's a very childlike mentality. So what you need to understand is, first and foremost, you are under no obligation whatsoever to even engage with a police officer, person in fancy dress. You're not obliged to engage them whatsoever. Even if you have committed a crime, that being that you've stole something, or you've assaulted somebody in some way, shape or form, or you have dishonoured some sort of contract, you still are not obliged to speak to them or engage with them in any way, shape or form. They are supposed to establish some sort of reasonable suspicion or reason of accosting you or, arresting you or holding you against your will or whatever it may be. That is their duty. Your duty is not to utter anything to them, and that's the hardest thing that people have, is to keep your mouth shut and say nothing. People have got this innate, response that they feel as if they've got to ramble and speak. First and foremost, you need to understand that you're not obliged to speak to them in any way, shape or form. It's their duty to provide a case against you in regards to an actual crime being committed. Now, what we're seeing with the coronavirus thing is that there is no lawful action, there is no lawful mandate or structure in place. What you're seeing is people who have been given a false superiority that's no lawful in any way, shape or form. So even in the situations of you sitting on a patch of grass in a park and you're approached by these people, ignore them. If they assault you by placing their hands upon you and trying to, accost you in some way, shape or form, they are now acting as criminals. You will be able to pursue them as acting as criminals because you have not committed any crime. They are acting under the grounds of legality, where they require your consent to participate. You're under no obligation to participate in any of their pantomime whatsoever. Sitting on a patch of grass is not a crime. Going about your business as you have the right to do so, inalienable right to do so, the only way they should be approaching you is with reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. If you're versed enough, you can take the mastership role in a situation of coronavirus, and you can display your righteous indignation if you have the articulation to do so. If you do not, and you're in any doubt of your capabilities to deal with them and put them in their place, the best message that I can give you is to shut your mouth. That takes strength. If you can articulate to them, you can articulate and hold them responsible, again maintaining the mastership role, where you ask questions. No engaging in petty discourse with them. Never enter into any of that. It doesn't matter how nice they're being. Oh, it's a nice day. How are you? What are you up to? Ignore it. What's your query, officer? Are you acting under your oath, officer? Am I suspected of a crime, officer? If not, mind your own business while I mind my own business. As I say, in the current climate, what you've got, not only from police but from all sorts of walks of life, from security guards, they now have this freedom to stamp their subjectivity, or try and stamp their subjectivity upon the masses. That's only achievable when you consent to it. So you really need to understand this. As I said at the beginning, you are under no obligation to speak to them. Even if you have committed a crime, your right is to remain silent. They tell you that. You have the right to remain silent. How's that going to go in court? Oh, I assaulted this man, put handcuffs on him because he was peacefully sitting on a piece of grass, or he was peacefully minding his own business fishing, or he was peacefully minding his own business going about whatever it was he was doing. How do you think that's going to go? This is why they're threatening you with fines. Oh, I'm going to fine you, ooh, because they know they've got fuck all. If you start to display aggressive behaviour, then they can start to enter into the grounds of probable cause. If you're standing there with your hands in your pockets, you're giving them grounds of probable cause, because then they can start to pull the whole, I suspected he might have a weapon and I was scared for my safety, so therefore I had to act. So another thing that I would suggest to you is that if you're approached by any of these people, instantly take your hands from your pockets. Display that you're not a threat. And then again, if you have the vocabulary to put them in a place, utilise it. Because you should be. If you do not, take your hands out your pockets, shut your fucking mouth. Oh yes, Judge, he was minding his own business and I pounced on him and put handcuffs on him, I accosted him and took him to the police station. Why the fuck did you do that? Because Boris Johnson said I could. Now remember, any turmoil that goes on, we're going to have a period afterwards right? These people are going to be held accountable. You may not get your justice right here and now, but what you can do is maintain your right and put them in an awkward position. As I say, it's better if you can articulate it to them. You can explain to them what their oath is. You can ask them what they're acting under right now, because they should be acting under the oath of serving and protecting public, that being you. No executing the whims of corporate private interests upon you. That is a criminal act. They are now pirates. They are acting as the criminal. And you need to be able to articulate it to them. If you just get irate and angry and start shouting and bawling, you're irresponsible. You're unpredictable. They can then take over. They become the master. As I've said so many times before, you can articulate it, you can stand your ground, you can do everything you need to do. What you must be prepared for is that you're going to get some fucking cockroach who acts out with the law in their own subjective, superiority trip. And they may assault you, they may try and accost you because their ego gets the better of them. You just need to remain calm. Keep silent. Get your lawyer or whatever it is involved. If you're at the police station, demand your right. Remain silent, get your lawyer there so that it's all logged. Then there's a log of the incident. What was a police officer's reasonable suspicion? What was he acting under? Oh, that's right, fuck all. You were minding your own business, as you have the right to do so. Because remember, this coronavirus shite, this lockdown stuff, it's not a lawful thing. It's unlawful. It's criminal. The majority of people are partaking in this by consent. It's only been suggested to them through a TV screen. And look at them. Again, I need to keep reiterating this. If you're no well versed and you don't understand this in the language properly, the best advice that I can give you is just to shut your mouth. That's the usual, Jacques, and that's very honest of you, because people need to have that honesty. So in a situation like yourself, the best thing that you can do is just to remain totally silent. You're under no obligation to speak to these people. That's the hardest thing for people, because it's like they see a human being and that human aspect comes out where they think they need to make small talk, chit chat. They're not there to be your friend. And I know it's difficult, but it's simple. Shut up. Say nothing. Sitting there on the grass, mind your own business. He comes along. What are you up to here? Do you know you're not supposed to be out? It's lockdown. They'll be awkward. They'll be uncomfortable. But that's what a lot of people do. They feel that uncomfortableness and they feel the need to somehow alleviate the discomfort. Don't, because he's in the wrong or she is in the wrong. Let them wallow in their discomfort. You're not their nanny. You're not there to fucking help them or protect them in any way, shape or form. They're acting unlawfully. They're acting as pirates, trying to execute the whims of politicians and corporate private interests. The only reasons that they would have is if you act aggressively or if you're standing with your hands in your pockets. So give them nothing. Just remain calm. Take your hands out your pockets immediately and display that you don't have any weapons so that they don't have anything they can use. That's true beyond belief, but people need to be versed in it. They need to be confident in it. There's no point in them, thinking they're confident and then getting involved in dialogue and then getting caught up in losing the plot, because that's what tends to happen, because they're sneaky. They can shift the master-servant role very quickly and very subtly. If you are engaging with the police in any way, shape or form, the only thing you should be engaging in is questions. If it's not a question that's coming out your mouth, shut your fucking mouth. You don't proselytise to them either. Is it your jurisdiction? Is this under your oath? Are you acting under your oath? You don't go, oh, you're acting criminal, you're a pirate, That's not going to work either. Question them. Make them answer. Aye, record them as well if you have the device to do so. Exactly beyond belief. And if you're a person that tends to get like that, as I say, the best method is to just be silent. As I say, they've got nothing. What are they going to do? Put you in handcuffs and take you to the police station? For what? How are they going to process you? What's the man done? Oh, he was minding his own business, sitting in the park. How's that going to go to court? No, I've not seen it, Andrew. I tend to not bother with any of this. I've done the whole police thing. I've done it years ago. And I'm offering my experience, my direct experience, as I displayed before. Remember, if anybody's seen it. And as I highlighted then, the problem you have is that you don't have an ideal situation. You're dealing with people's egos. You're dealing with police people who don't even understand what true law is, what their oath actually is. So the best thing for anybody is to utilise your right, which is you're under no obligation to engage with them, and you can remain silent. And if you doubt it, as soon as the police person comes to you, ask them, am I obliged to speak to you? They will say no, or they'll try and shift round about it without actually answering. And they probably dropped her off at the house, Caroline. Or got her to accept some sort of fine. But I don't know. I don't know the backdrop of any of that story. Or the follow on. They'll try and ask questions. But you are the master in any interaction with police. You ask the questions. if you need to speak to them, if you feel the need. Book you for what, duality? Take you to the precinct and book you for what? Minding your own business? Being a lawful citizen? Or because you didn't respond to the whims of corporate private interests? Because that's exactly what it would be. And if it went to a proper court, you would win hands down. Hands down, they would be liable. And they know that. They know that, they're no daft. As I say, I don't even get annoyed and angry with the police. I get annoyed and angry at the apathy and the sheer stupidity of the populace, because it's that apathy and ignorance that allows them to continue their behaviour. Anyway. The police were created to uphold common law. They were meant to be go-betweens, investigators of criminal acts, trying to establish perpetrators in any given criminal act. That's what their role is. And you need to understand that. You have the right to autonomy, you have the right to govern yourself, you have the right to, assess your medical risks or whatever else. Right? All this rubbish that's going on right now is like them playing the role of daddy and everybody just accepting it. Why the fuck are governments and police trying to enforce anything about fucking health? Fuck off! This is where people should be getting irate and fucking righteous indignation. Fucking get it right up them. And start arming yourself with the knowledge of how to articulate it to these cocksniffers. Anyhow, I'm Offsky Pops. I'll see you in the next couple of days, people. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.